behind the company, and they used RICO for racketeering, child pornography laws, sex trafficking. So it's a big lawsuit, and they're doing amazing. And recently, a number of months ago, I think it was, actually summer of 2022 in August, Visa was denied their motion to dismiss the case by a federal judge in California. So the judge handed down this damning decision, and the words that he used was Visa gave PornHub the tool through which to complete the crime of child trafficking. That was his words. He said, if all of these facts are true, which they are very detailed, and they're true facts that are in that complaint, he said this is the case. So that was a pretty big deal.
A couple of questions. You say you got 100 million people a day clicking on there to view this stuff. Now, a certain percentage of them must stumble on these things like a 3-year-old, like you said, a toddler being raped on video. And the certain percentage that stumbles on that, there has to be a percentage of them that get so outraged that they start complaining to Pornhub. But then there should even be a percentage below that picks up the phone and dials 911 and says, I'm looking right now at Pornhub committing a crime. Get down there and seize those servers. What's going on?
Well, one of the things that's happening is that Pornhub, so this was all uncovered again in this incredibly damning discovery published by the court last week on September 1st. And these are internal emails by the CEO, the COO, the VPs of the company, and they're discussing a policy that they had where they only employed one person. Now, think about this. They make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They had, at one point, 1,200 employees working for MindGeek. They employed one person to review flagged videos. So these would be videos where if somebody is part of the public and they're on the site and they're like, does not look legal, this is concerning, and they flag that video, they had one person reviewing those flags. They had a policy where they wouldn't even put a video in the queue to be reviewed unless it had over 15 flags. That means a victim of child rape on Pornhub could flag their video 15 times, and it wouldn't even be put in line to be looked at. The line of flagged videos, so that flagged video backlog, in their own words, they call it a backlog, was over 706,000 videos in the backlog. Now, this person was working 5 days a week, taking the weekends off, working 8 hours a day only, right? So imagine that system that was set up. Now, not only that, but these emails and depositions confirm something that we already knew, but then it's confirmed in the depositions that they actually were not reporting any known child sexual abuse to authorities for over 13 years. So from 2007, when the site was founded, all the way until April of 2020, after Trafficking Hub movement went viral to expose them, they were not reporting child sexual abuse that they knew about to authorities. Now, this is all confirmed in parliamentary testimony and depositions. There's no question about this at this point. It's illegal in Canada. It's a crime not to report child sexual abuse. It carries a 14-year prison sentence if you don't do it. They were not doing that. So they were essentially hiding child sexual abuse from authorities. Now imagine this. How many children over the last 13 years could have been rescued out of situations of, being enslaved to be used in child sexual abuse videos that are monetized online, who are just being tortured and abused? And because Pornhub's hiding this content because they just don't want their reputation damaged, they don't want anybody to know about this, they were hiding it. And so those kids went, they could have had help, right? It could have been reported. Police could have gone on these cases, but they didn't, because they just pushed it under the rug in an intentional way. It was a company practice that they were not reporting child sexual abuse for that long. And that's just unacceptable. It's just unbelievable.
Well, just imagine if they're employing one guy to check the flagging, right, to police these flags. Some of these porn companies that are uploading, they're competing with each other. they probably have more than one guy flagging other people, just to try and shut down the competitors.
I mean, it's almost meaningless. Yeah. It's almost as if they employed one person so they could say that they have some system going on, but it's not a real effort. It's not a real effort to, at the same time. So, let's just stack up the facts, okay? First of all, they have a policy where you do not verify the age or the consent of the people in the homemade sex videos that are uploaded from around the world to this website. Second, you employ, and this is also uncovered, right? This is factually accurate and uncovered. They had 30 moderators for all of MindGeek's PornTube sites. So that's just not Pornhub. That's Pornhub, YouPorn, Tube8, ExtremeTube, XTube, all these tubes. Okay, Pornhub being the primary one. 30 working 10 per shift, 8-hour shift. They were reviewing about 1,000 on average videos per shift. If they reviewed less than 700, they were reprimanded by management. Some of the more experienced were skipping through with the sound off 2,000 videos per 8-hour shift. So that was their moderation practice. And as far as flagged content, right, when there would be illegal content that easily got through with that process, then they only had one person reviewing that, right, with a backlog of almost 1 million flagged videos. Then on top of that, it also shows in these emails that they hadn't been employing any industry standard technology tools to detect and remove child sexual abuse from the site either until 2020 after they were exposed by Trafficking Hub. So stack up all of that, right? And then that they weren't reporting to authorities, they were hiding it. And all of that while it was all commercialized and earning profit for them. And this was intentional policy. So what does that mean?
Has there been one criminal investigation that's come about because someone's seen illegal porn or illegal rape content on these free sites?
So I am not aware that there's been a criminal prosecution investigation. Are you talking about into the site and the owner?
No, I'm talking about.
Or are you talking to people?
I'm talking about even the police will investigate if they see an image of child pornography. They'll investigate that. They'll look at the bedspread and the sheets and say, "Oh, that's from Disneyland," and they really do thorough investigations on this kind of stuff. So that if they've got all this kind of material here, has there been
there's
one?
There's people in jail.
Oh,
there's people in prison who are the uploaders. So we have numerous cases of the individuals who filmed and uploaded this content are in prison. I'll give one example. So there was a man named Rocky Shea Franklin, and he was in Alabama, and he drugged and he overpowered and he raped multiple times a 12-year-old boy. He filmed those assaults, and he uploaded 23 of those videos to Pornhub with titles that indicated that this was child abuse, like Uncle Secret and taking teen virginity, and I won't say the other ones because they're very, very disturbing.
Right.
But they had titles that indicated that it was abuse. And these videos, so he was actually discovered by police who arrested him. They then reached out and demanded these videos be removed from Pornhub, and they were ignored multiple times by Pornhub. So those videos ended up staying on the site for 7 months, even though police had reached out. They were viewed hundreds of thousands of times. They were downloaded, ensuring the boy's trauma will live online forever. Now, Rocky Shea Franklin was sentenced to 40 years in prison for what he did. And the boy and his mother are now suing Pornhub in Alabama. So that's an example of somebody who had done this and actually is behind bars for doing it.
And yet, the same exact films that were likely used as evidence against this guy to put him in prison is now for sale on Pornhub.
Yeah, it was for sale on Pornhub.
It probably still is. How do we know? How do we know?
Yeah, I mean, you actually... That's true. I mean, the fact is you don't know, and it could be for sale on Pornhub
under a different name,
or one of MindGeek's other porn tube sites, because they don't verify the age or the consent of those who are in the video. So after all of this exploded in December of 2020 with the New York Times piece and the credit card companies. It was really the credit card companies. They freaked out when they got word that the credit card companies were about to pull the plug. They deleted 10.6 million videos from their website in 24 hours and 40 million images. Financial Times call it one of the biggest takedowns of content in internet history. And then they changed their upload process. So then they finally started to require the uploaders of the videos to show their ID, finally, after 13 years of not doing anything. But still, it's not enough because they don't verify the individuals in the video. So often the uploader is the abuser. Rocky Shea Franklin was actually a verified uploader on PornHub. And he uploaded a 12-year-old victim. And those particular videos were being sold, pay-to-download content, where Pornhub was earning 35% of the profit. Not only from advertising revenue, they weren't just earning profit from that, but also from the direct sale of that content as well. So that's kind of the situation.
Yeah, but then, then the prosecutor who prosecuted Rocky, this fellow Rocky, why wouldn't he then say, okay, and we're also going to prosecute the distributor of this, Pornhub?
Well, exactly. That's the question. That's the big question now. I mean, things have gotten to a point, I think now, with the emails that were uncovered last week, where we have evidence of direct knowledge and intention from the owners and the CEO and the COO, the VPs of this company, as to these policies. It's not circumstantial. It's not just, it's not just, this is what's happened, this is on the site. It's kind of gone to a different level now, where if they're made, and I've been calling for a criminal prosecution from day one, from February 10, 2020, when I launched the Trafficking Petition, because it says shut down Pornhub and hold its executives accountable. And what I mean by that is criminally accountable to the full extent of the law for what's happened, because that's important, because then we set a precedent, we set a deterrent for copycats. I would say, boy, it's profitable for me to sell legal pornography. Why don't I just stick with that instead of intermingling illegal content to make more money? And they won't do it if they see really serious consequences for the decision makers and the owners of the company. So I think it's critical, and I think we have to see a criminal prosecution. If after all of this is exposed, which it has been exposed, and all of this evidence and all of these victims is exposed, and there's not a criminal prosecution, I just think that's going to be a huge miscarriage of justice. Like, this has to result not only in civil penalties where victims are paid enormous amounts of money by the company, but we need to see criminal accountability as well. Now,
I know my audience, I know by now they're all upset. They're all, I don't want to use the word, but you know the word. They're all off, they're peed off, okay? And they want to know what to do now, okay? So we're speaking to Laila Mickelwait, LailaMickelwait. So right away you can start by following her on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Then there's a couple of groups you can start to join and check out. JusticeDefenseFund.org. Now, Laila, let's just start with JusticeDefenseFund.org. What is the purpose there? What can people do? Why would people want to go there and support that group?
So Justice Defense Fund is an organization that I founded, and our mission statement is to empower victims of sex trafficking, child sexual abuse, and other forms of non-consensual criminal online content to pursue justice, and as well to change policy that enables this abuse to continue. So it's not enough to shut down Pornhub and hold its executives accountable. We have to do that. But we also need to have policy in place to make sure this never happens again, that there's not another Pornhub that pops up to take its place. And that's why a huge emphasis of what we do, in addition to empowering victims to pursue justice, is to be loud enough and to raise enough awareness and education that we can change policy, and not just governmental policy. So specifically, the policy that we need to see enacted is mandatory third-party age and consent verification for every single person and every single user-generated video on a porn site or image on a porn site. Now, that needs to be implemented by governments, but perhaps more